the Nursing 500 orientation. First, I'd like to talk about what you will learn, confronting issues in contemporary healthcare environments. In this course, we're going to examine healthcare policy and politics in terms of contemporary issues that impact nurses in advanced roles, healthcare access, and also quality and cost. The focus of the course is going to be on the critical analysis of health policy and legal issues impacting nurses in advanced roles and the broader healthcare landscape. This course provides the student with a basic understanding of healthcare issues that have social, political, and economic determinants. Students are going to examine how nurses can promote change through advocacy and activism. Our topical outline, each of the modules, surrounds particular topics. We're going to start off with an introduction to the entire concept of health policy and politics. We will then move into Module 2 with financing healthcare and look at the Affordable Care Act and the impact that it has and will continue to have on the nation. In Module 3, we are going to look at government policy and politics. Module 4, politics in nursing associations, workplace policy and politics, and finally in Module 5, global health issues along with advocacy in health policy and politics. How you will learn? Well, we're going to be doing some reading and written assignments, lecture captures, video and audio tutorials, virtual synchronous class meetings such as the Collaborate Library meeting, as well as asynchronous discussions in the discussion board. You will see in the future some voiceover PowerPoint lectures in the course, as well as website resources. So each module will have some video clips that I'd like you to view. They're just a few minutes long. Each is about 5 to 6 minutes tops in length. And then also some references and resources for you that are websites to various organizations, and also sometimes to information that will contain a PDF from that organization, or also in some of the modules have some articles that are really important for you to read. You will see that we have the Standards of Nursing Practice, and you're required to have purchased these from the American Nurses Association. We have their latest edition of the Code of Ethics for Nurses with Interpretive Statements. The American Nurses Association has actually named this the Year of Ethics because it is the first time in 10 years that they have actually revised their Code of Ethics for nurses. And it's important to have this text. You will need this throughout your entire MSN program, no matter which track you are in. You will also need it for the ethics course that you will be taking, Nursing 502. The American Nurses Association Social Policy Statement is really an element that's important for this particular course, and the American Nurses Association Nursing Scope and Standards of Practice from 2010. Again, that is a book that you will be utilizing throughout the program here. Your textbooks would be the American Psychological Association, the 2009 edition. It is a blue book, and it contains a lot of information about how to cite electronic sources. And this is the mainstay as far as what we follow for APA format within our papers. The Mason, Gardner, Outlaw, and O'Grady textbook is the textbook for the course. This is the latest edition, the 7th edition, published in 2016, Policy and Politics in Nursing and Healthcare. I do want to add at this point, that it's very important to read the textbook. And I will also tell you that the chapters, while it may seem that you have a number of chapters assigned per week, the chapters are not very long, and they're actually easy reads. So please do spend the time to delve into the book. There is just such worthwhile information. Additional readings you're going to be finding from journals and other sources, they're going to be posted also throughout the course in your modules. Now, also at the same time, if this is your first online nursing course, you are expected to complete the Recognizing Plagiarism tutorial and to save the certificate that you receive at the end. Now, you save the certificate. You do not submit it to your faculty member. If you don't see that in your Blackboard Online Learning Suite, if it's not a choice of courses, please contact your academic advisor, because the sooner you have this completed, the better off that you will be, particularly when you're writing your papers. Now, at Drexel University, we have an intellectual honesty statement, and you will find this in your syllabus. And it just certifies that you yourself have worked on this assignment, that it is your own intellectual work, and I will let you read the rest. You have to actually copy and paste this onto the last page of your paper. You type your name at the bottom, and that is good as your signature. And then you place it at the end of your paper after the references. In that way, it will not be counted into the similarity index that you will receive with your papers when you place them and submit them into Turnitin.com. I'd also like to talk a little bit about online etiquette. It's very hard when you're in the online medium and in discussion boards, for instance, to really understand the type of courtesy that you need to extend. Because sometimes what we say in the written word does not really come out the same way that it would if we were speaking it verbally. So I do want to really have you reflect upon the fact that courtesy, politeness, and good manners must be used when you're involved in online education and any communication that you may have with one another and with your faculty member. Certain issues are also particular to online education, and again, you want to assure that your written or audio discussion and email are afforded the same civility as they would be in an on-site classroom situation. I'd like to just mention a few things about emails. Please use, you must use your Drexel email account for all course-related communication. That's how we communicate with you. It is up to the student to really check their Drexel email at least 3 times per week for announcements relating to the course. Anything about the course and registration information is also sent in this manner. And so you really want to be careful about checking this frequently. When you are emailing a faculty member, your faculty are often teaching more than one course, so it helps if you include not just your name but also your course number and the section that you are in. In that way, it helps them to better answer and address quickly a question that you may have posed. When you're using Collaborate, you want to enter the Collaborate room about a half hour before your first session. I would suggest that the very first time you use Collaborate to really try to get things situated an hour before you are set to go online. You want to make sure that your system is working. So one thing that I have identified, if you are using Wi-Fi, so that you're not using a desktop, you perhaps are using a laptop, you can connect your laptop in the back using an Ethernet cable that you can buy at any type of office supply store or computer store. And they're not expensive at all. And when you're using it, it just makes for a more stable connection, and you won't have to worry about accidentally getting bumped off, if you will, from your online session. So if you connect the Ethernet cable from your computer to your modem, this is the best type of situation to have. If you do not have an Ethernet cable, then what you want to do is sit your laptop computer right next to the modem that you are utilizing. Before you start your Blackboard Collaborate, you must install the Collaborate launcher. For anyone that has a Windows operating system, then there's a particular Windows operating system launcher. And for those of you that are using Macs, Apple products, there's also a Mac operating system launcher that you will want to launch. And that comes up when you click on Collaborate Launcher. So a little bit more about Collaborate. You will see here that the first thing you should do is actually go up to the top of your computer, and you will see a selection for tech support. When you click on tech support, you are then taken here to Collaborate. You can see that's in black up in the tab up above there. And now you read below for Collaborate, and it says it has a launch site here so that you can launch and save the Collaborate launcher onto your computer. The next thing you want to do is you want to access the test Collaborate session each time before you come in officially into the Collaborate room. And so you do so by clicking on the link, which is http://bit.ly/DI collab. And so you click on that particular link, and what that will do is it'll take you through a visual test, an audio test, and several other tests, so that you know that you are going to be able to use Collaborate correctly. And that's always good to do, especially the first time before you use it. It just helps you to know that you have your mic and also your headset located into the proper connections on your computer, and that it is operating. I also should mention then when using Collaborate, you will need to have a headset that contains a microphone with noise canceling ability is the absolute best, because then you don't have to worry about echoes occurring in the system. You can purchase these, again, in any office supply store or in a computer store, many places sell these. Now let's review the assignments. First, there are discussion boards, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Each discussion board, there's 3 graded discussion boards. So right now, you're involved with your introduction discussion board, and that's for week 1. That you do not get graded for, but that is a way for you to meet with your fellow students and begin to develop a community with one another and also with your faculty member. You then will have 3 graded discussion boards, and so they're each worth 10% for a total of 30%. Your first paper will be a legislative process review, and that is worth 35%. And your next paper on health policy advocacy, that's worth 35% as well. You will notice that this particular course, as it is the first course in your graduate education, that it is writing comprehensive. And we expect 2 papers, 6 to 8 pages in length for the text. And I'll explain that again in a little bit. But we need you to use the APA format and also to learn good writing style. And that is to help you with your future courses in the nursing program. It is also considered a skill that, according to the American Association of Colleges of Nursing and the other accrediting bodies for nurse practitioners, and also for our non-nurse practitioner and our anesthesia group, they expect that students will be able to publish in the future. And so we're heading you in that direction by helping you with grammatical style, writing style, and helping you with learning a particular format of writing. And in this case, it is the American Psychological Society. association. Now the discussion boards, they're going to open on Monday. All of them are open, but we officially open them for discussion on first thing on Monday morning, whenever you would like to get in. And then they close that following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to make, a lot of times people ask me how many words, so I do have a guide for you. Your first substantive post should be approximately 100 to 150 words minimally, and it should be posted by Wednesday. You want to use references for this post as well. You want to reference your textbook. You want to reference the journals and other writings that we may send you to, and you also want to go outside of your course and look at anything that you can find on the topic that has been published and include that. So that is what we mean by a substantive post. The first post really will address the questions that have been posed to you within the particular discussion board by the faculty member. You need to, in the graded discussion boards, you need to place an opening thread, a new thread, in order to get into the discussion. And you need to post your response to the questions that were posed. After you've done that, you then can answer two other students, reply to two other students. And we ask that they be approximately 75 to 100 words minimum, and that you make a total of 3 posts minimum expected during that particular week. You need to spread it out during the week so that you're really getting the full worth of the discussion that's going on. So we look for that, and that is part of the grading rubric. So really become familiar with the grading rubric for the discussion board. You can respond more than 3 times, and that will essentially help to increase your score as well. Now, what we have placed in Module 2, when you begin with your first graded discussion board, is actually a document that you will find that is called Tips on Success in the Discussion Board Post. And it occurred to us that students who have never been online don't know what a discussion board post looks like. And so this is just a sample discussion board here, a post that you might make as a student. Now, while we say we want the references to be in APA format, in a discussion board, you cannot really indent the second line. So we don't expect you to. But certainly the best thing to do is to type this into Notepad, and you can save it there and then bring it into the discussion board. I know many a time I've been answering a student, I have such a good response to them, I have it referenced, and then I accidentally hit something, and then I lose what I had already typed into the discussion board. So this is why I suggest to you that you type it ahead of time and then copy and paste into your discussion post. Now, the discussion board rubric, please really pay attention to the fact that we have weights next to each of the items. So, for example, with content, we have here and that would be right here, with a weight of 25%. And for evidence, that is worth 30%. Participation, 25%, and I do have 2 more things to add. Now, when you look at the weight, you can say, geez, what counts the most in your discussion post? And the fact that you open your thread, you fully answer and respond to the question, you're clear, concise, organized, it's original, it's accurate, it's relevant, that all counts. As far as the evidence that your postings are evidence-based, that you are referring back to the literature, to your textbook, to practice standards, experiences and opinions are also very highly welcomed and respected. It is extremely important, and that's why you'll see in purple to here at the bottom for the evidence to really go out searching for that. Participation, we'd like you to participate throughout the entire discussion period. So you want to actively and regularly lead your own thread, as well as actively and regularly contributing to other students' threads. And this helps to advance everyone's learning. So when you create a thread and people respond to you, you want to respond back to them. So that's what we mean by really actively and regularly leading your own thread. But then you also want to go out and you want to respond to a minimum of 2 other students. And you can see here that a grade of 90 to 100 is exceeding criteria. 82 to 89 is meeting criteria. And so definitely you want to get either one of these grades, A or B. And if you recall also, you need a B to be successful in the graduate program. Now these are the last 2 items, and we have spelling and grammar, a weight of 10%, and APA weight of 10%. And so what we're looking for here, again, is that you are spelling correctly, your grammar is correct, and your punctuation is correct. So in other words, you're really putting a cogent sentence together. As far as the APA format, again, the citations as I showed you in that sample citation, that sample discussion board post. And we do not expect you to indent on that second line, and so you'll see that there is even a note here about that. Now you will have 2 papers. You have a legislative process review, and then you have a policy paper where you're going to talk about advocating for a particular policy. Each paper has to be on a different topic. So for instance, if you really talked about legislation for child abuse with your first paper, then you can't really use child abuse for the second paper, and that's because we want you to graduate from the program, and also we want you to be successful in the course and come out of the course knowing more broad topics than just one. So that's why we are really rather strict with that, and really keep track of what students say that what topic they want to write on. It is recommended also that you pay close attention to the weighting of each item in the paper, and I will show you what that rubric looks like. And you want to clearly highlight to the reader when those items are being discussed in the paper narrative. You will notice that there is a template for paper 1, and that is contained in module 2. And then there is also a template for paper 3. Now, what I mean by template is that it shows you what the cover page should look like. There's also information on how you do that. You have to have an abstract for your paper and keywords, and it shows you how you're supposed to format that. And then we try to deliver to you a somewhat fake-looking paper. In other words, something that gives you an idea. So you're going to see some extra space left in between topics, subtopics, I should say, within the paper. That does not mean that you leave space. It's just that rather than writing an entire paper or showing a paper, that was really what we wanted to do, just provide you with information. You want to use what in APA they call level headers. And so you're going to see right here, there is discussion about that. Do look up level headings. You can look that up in your APA manual. Some of you may also go out to Purdue, their APA site. There is a link for that within the course shell. Go under writing resources for that. The body of both papers needs to be a minimum of 6 pages, a maximum of 8 pages. And that is text. It doesn't include references, it doesn't include the title page, and it doesn't include the abstract. And make sure that you are only double-spaced in between every line. Even when you have a break and you have a new paragraph or a new topic, it is only ever double-spaced. Anything more than that, and it's kind of artificially lengthening the paper. So you really want to be careful. Again, minimum of 6. Do not give less than 6. Full, complete pages or points will need to be taken off. And again, that is because we're trying to give you the best opportunity to sharpen your learning skills and hone them within this course. And you really can't do that with less than 6 full pages. So for the legislative process review paper, this is the beginning of the rubric. And the paper is worth 35% of your grade. So the effort that you put into this will be generously rewarded. And if you follow each of the items in the rubric, you should be able to get a very good grade. You want to introduce your proposed healthcare legislation, and then there are certain items that you really have to hit under that. That's a full 30 points. Again, you want to investigate your legislative process. You want to explain how legislation related to healthcare comes into being at either the state or the federal level. And just a word about that. If you are talking about a federal bill going into law, then you want to talk about the federal process. If you are talking about a state law, please be clear that you must cite the your particular state legislation or that you've gotten the bill from, and how that will go through to being law. How does that work at the state level? Next, you want to formulate an informed opinion about the legislation's merit. What do you think about that and why? Always a rationale. And as you can see, that is 25 points. Now, the rest of the paper, I know you can't see it as well here, but certainly go back and look at this on your syllabus. This is the area for writing style, and down here we have the area for APA format. Again, this continues down onto yet another page. We did this because, and now there's only 10 points taken off for each of these areas for this entire writing style, and also the same for the APA format. What we cite here is exactly where in the APA manual the particular items about writing style and about APA format were taken, so that you can go back and you could reference those and read about it a little bit more in depth if you're having some problems. Also, if you feel that you need the resources of the Writing Center, please get your paper done early, and then electronically and by phone you can contact them and they will review your paper. Now, not necessarily for APA format, but just to make sure that you have level headers, that you're really speaking coherently, that I can follow what the reader is saying. Because sometimes when you write a paper, you know what you're trying to get across, but you want to make sure that the reader understands that as well. And so you may want to contact them for some assistance if you feel you're going to need that. But you do have to give them some leeway time ahead of time because they do deal with a lot of students. Next, you'll have your policy advocacy paper. And with this particular paper, again, it is the same, similar, I should say, elements. And so these, this will speak to, the content, the format, the conclusion, and then you have the writing style here and the APA style. And the writing style and the APA style are really the same for both papers. The content, which is right here in these 3 elements, that will be different between the 2 papers. For the policy paper, we really are looking for you to go to out to organizations, see what kind of policies are out there. Now, certainly legislation is considered policy, but for the purposes of our papers, since you've already done a legislative process review and you've given a direct link to your faculty member in the discussion board and they've approved it, and then if you have any further questions, please do ask your faculty member for assistance. However, you've done legislation, so now you want to move on and learn about how you as a nurse can advocate for a particular policy. And students really often find this to be very informative for them to learn how to go about this. They find it, and you should find a topic that you're really interested in because you have to spend the time to write the paper and just learning about the process for the legislation, and then learning about how to advocate for a policy and a particular policy. They should both be things that you would be interested in.